Hey guys, thanks for dropping into my studio today. You know, one of the interesting things about being an illustrator is that we do very, very different types of illustration. We work with very different types of clients. For example, you could be a fashion illustrator or an anime illustrator, a children's book illustrator. I'm a CGI illustrator. And the kinds of clients that need the specific type of illustration that we do are very different. If you're a fashion illustrator, your clients are not going to be interested in the kind of work that I do and vice versa. But the one thing that we all have in common is that we have to find a good answer to this question. We have to figure out how we can find the businesses and clients that need the type of illustration that we do. And it's not an easy solution. It's an important solution because if we don't find an answer to this, we can't monetize our talents. We don't want to go back to those jobs waiting tables and landscaping. We want to be able to monetize our talents. We have expenses. I was faced with the same question a number of years ago, and I kind of stumbled upon and innovated a solution that helped me answer this question, and it worked out extremely well. It brought in many clients, and it will work for pretty much any type of illustration. It's not difficult to do, doesn't take a lot of time, doesn't cost any money, and it's actually kind of fun. So that's what this video is all about, giving you that technique so that you can figure out a way to actually connect with the clients that need your specific type of illustration. So here we are out of the studio, and actually we have a studio audience today. And I do ask you all to hold any questions that you have to the end. So let us sum up what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do is to gain insights on how to find clients for the type of illustration that we do, or the type of illustration that we want to do. Now that's pretty, okay. What is the question?
Isn't that a different shirt?
Yes, I did change my shirt. I have this brighter, lighter color. I just love this color, so. It's actually the color of my car. So getting back to what we were saying, we're basically looking for some pretty specialized information. This is not something that we're going to be able to go to Google for and find out. We want to find out stuff that really relates to the type of illustration we do so we can find clients. Where are we going to get those kinds of insights? Well, there is a place, and that is from other illustrators that are doing the type of work that we do, who are in our specialty. Other editorial illustrators, if that's what we're doing, or fashion illustrators, or whatever type of specialized illustration we do. So I'm going to give you basically a three-step process. Actually, it's almost a two-step process that doesn't take a lot of time, like I said, doesn't cost any money. The number one thing we're going to do is find illustrators that are in the same specialized illustration space, and then we're going to send them a canned email with a little bit of customization, but a pretty straightforward email asking for their advice, asking for their help. Now, you might say, why would another illustrator be interested in helping me? I'm, going to be technically a competitor. Well, quite simply because a lot of people out there are just helpful. And if we approach enough illustrators, we will find someone who is willing and generous with their time and their knowledge. I have, and it does work that way. So where do we find these illustrators? There are two websites that feature the portfolios of many different illustrators. And I'll give you the first one. It's called theispot.com. The iSpot, and the I is the letter I. And this is not a sponsored thing. This is just a site that has many, many different illustrators on it. You can go there. You can filter them by specialty. You can look at a lot of different illustrators' works, and it's a good site. I mean, they have a lot of very accomplished artists and illustrators on this site. Another similar site that you can go to is Directory of Illustration. I'll look up the URLs for both of these sites and include them in the Show More section below. So these two sites will show you many different illustrators, and as I said, you can filter them for specialty. So what you want to do is you want to find 15 to 20 illustrators that you can reach out to and ask for their advice and their insights. I find an illustrator I like, I put down their name, maybe what part of the country they're in, what their city and state is, their contact information, phone number, website, email address. Then I like to write down just a little bit about this particular illustrator. What has caught my eye? Something to kind of jog your memory, because remember, we're going to come up with like 15 to 20 different illustrators. One source that may come to mind is Upwork. And of course, you have many people in the creative arts and illustration on Upwork. I don't really recommend that because the people that are generally on Upwork are people that are using Upwork to market their services. They're actually, that's their marketing means. They're actually writing proposals. They're hoping people will contact them about projects. They're not reaching out so much independently. And that's what we're looking for because, quite frankly, there's more money and value in it to you as an illustrator. So once you have a list of 15 or 20 different illustrators, you're going to put together a sort of a canned email. And this email is going to have a number of different components to it. Number one, you're going to be introducing yourself. You're going to be also introducing where you are in your career. I've been illustrating for 2 years, or I got out of art school and I was an illustration major and I really want to get a career in illustration started. Whatever your specific situation is, you want to tell them a little bit about who you are. Identify yourself more than just your name. The other thing that's important to put in is something that lets them know that you've actually been to their website and you've actually looked at their work thoughtfully. You don't want them to think that this is just a cut and paste email that you're sending out to a bunch of people. So write down a few comments that lets this illustrator know that you've actually been to their website, that you've actually looked at their work. Tell them that you really like a specific piece, or you like the technique that they're using here, or how they solved a certain problem, or the dynamic range in a piece, whatever the case may be. But you can find something with each one of these illustrators, and this is a good thing for sort of building this relationship, because that's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to get a response, so that is a relationship. Now, I will give a sample letter in the Show More section below, and I'll just write that out. It may or may not be applicable to your situation. Now, I will tell you this, I have actually done this myself. I discovered this technique somehow, and I got some tremendous marketing insights that were very, very helpful to me and worked out very, very well. And I'm going to describe that little story at the end of this video. Here's the kind of results you're likely to get if you send out 15 to 20 emails like this. About half the people that you send these emails to, you're never going to hear from. They're going to completely ignore you. They're busy. They can't be bothered, whatever. That's okay. Who cares? About half the people will write you back. Now, some will say, hey, I'm just totally slammed, but love to talk to you sometime. Make a note of that. Or they might give you a couple hints. I advertise in this medium, or I do email marketing or whatever. I saw a great video. So they'll give you a little bit of input like that. But what we really want to get are a couple of illustrators that are open to having a conversation. They write you back and they say, thank you for reaching out to me, and I'm very, very busy this week and next, but in the third week of whenever, send me a couple times that work for you and maybe we can talk. Now, I know that for some people this seems like an awkward thing to do. You're busting into somebody else's life and reaching out and that sort of thing. If it is awkward for you, just push through it. It's not that bad. I've done it, and it was actually kind of fun, not only to be looking at other people's work, but to actually be talking to other illustrators. I will tell you there are several more benefits other than just getting insights on marketing for doing this activity. Number one, you can form a relationship with an experienced illustrator. It might be something where you have a great conversation. You have a little bit of a chemistry. And at the end of the conversation, you say, hey, I've really enjoyed talking to you. This has been very helpful. I'd like to kind of loosely keep touch with you, maybe send you an email every once in a while if that would be okay. You can form a little bit of a relationship. They may be of help to you at some point in the future when you are doing a project and you're stuck on something, or you want to ask a question about a client, whatever. Let's face it, as illustrators, we lead a fairly solitary existence for the most part. We're working up in that atelier up there by ourselves with our Wacom tablet or watercolors or whatever they might be, and we don't hang out with a lot of other people. So if we're hanging out with somebody on the phone a little bit and actually talking to another illustrator, that can be a good thing. Another thing is that you can actually maybe help them. Sometimes illustrators get too busy to work on projects. Maybe the illustrator that you've reached out to has a client that they really want to keep happy, but they are totally, totally slammed. A little piece of work comes in, they just can't do it. But they've seen your work, they've had a conversation with you. Maybe you can help them out. Maybe they can send that work to you. And there's another thing that happens too, and that is they might get a client that comes to them and they do an estimate, the client can't afford it. But they don't want to lower their estimate because they've got a certain dollar per hour or price point that they have established with their clientele. But they think of you. Maybe they can't do the illustration at $1,200 because they're up at $2,000 for this type of piece, but they think maybe you could do it. You don't have quite as much experience as they have, but your work is good. They've seen your website. They might reach out to you. You might get an email or a phone call that says, hey, I've got a client that I can't work with, too busy, doesn't have a big enough budget, but maybe you'd be interested. So to sum this up, try it out. It's easy to do, doesn't take that much time, and it's actually fun and enriching, and you can get some tremendous insights. So the insight that I got, I did exactly this technique with the directory of illustration. And the reason I did it was actually a little different. So I discovered this by accident. There was a marketing person over at the directory of illustration that was driving me crazy with emails and phone calls. They wanted me to get into the directory of illustration. They were selling space. So to get up on their website, if my memory serves, which I think it does, it was about $2,800 to be up on their website for a year. And the other thing that came with that was that you got into a book. I don't know if they still do that, but it was like a book, directory of illustration, that they would send out to all these ad agencies and design studios and publishers, et cetera, around the country. Well, it sounded like it might be a good thing, but I'm like, $2,800, that's a lot of money, but I need more work. Looks like it works because a lot of people are in it. There's a lot of good illustrators there, but I don't know. So I was kind of vacillating. I didn't know how to answer this question. And then it hit me. Reach out to illustrators that are in the directory of illustration and say, hey, I'm thinking about advertising. How does it work for you? Just let me know. So I reached out to about 15 or 20 different illustrators. I only heard back from about half of them, but one of the responses I got was really golden. I got an email back from a guy, an illustrator in Florida, and he said to me, if you want to know what works for me in marketing my illustrations, let's set up a time to talk at the end of next week. Thursday or Friday are open to me. Wow, that looks golden. So I did set up a time. We had a great conversation, and he told me what worked for him. He told me about this company I had never heard of, and I'm going to do a video on them. And this company would allow you to send out email blasts for a very low cost every month, very low cost. Nothing like the $2,800 that I would spend in directory of illustration. This sounded pretty appealing to me. Low cost, event-free, and he said it worked, so let's give it a shot. And I did, and it worked pretty great. I got a lot of clients. They were good clients. They were good projects. It was so good that I did this for 8 years with this particular company. The only reason I stopped was because I finally just became too busy with work, and I just didn't need to get new clients anymore, so I kind of backed off. That was the kind of insight that I got. It was really, really terrific. So I think that pretty much sums it up. If you have any questions about it, feel free to comment. You can look me up and email me, whatever you want to do, and I'll try to answer everyone that I can. So thank you for watching this video. I hope it was useful, and a special thanks to my studio audience today who kept quiet after the question about my shirt. And as I always say, I hope to see you on the next one.